Lakeland Currents, your public affairs program for North Central Minnesota. Closed captioning is made possible by Bemidji Regional Airport, serving the region with daily flights to Minneapolis-St. Paul International Airport. More information available at bemidjiairport.org.
Welcome to Lakeland Currents. I'm your host, Todd Haugen. Our guest today is the director of Bemidji's Habitat for Humanity. Her name is Geri Hickerson. Geri, welcome to Lakeland Currents.
Thanks for having us.
You've been the director of Bemidji's Habitat for Humanity for quite some time. We talked about this before our show.
Yep,
How long have you been doing this?
17 years.
Wow.
Yeah.
But Habitat has been in Bemidji since 1990?
Correct. Yep.
That's a long time.
There's a lot of hard work got done for those first few years with just volunteers.
Mm.
Yep.
What does Habitat for Humanity do?
We build simple, decent, affordable homes for families who can't get financing anywhere else.
And you not only build these, you sometimes finance them, or do you always finance them?
Always financed them so far. We are looking at some other financing options for homeowners who are on the high end of the scale, who are just barely fitting into our program, who may need a bigger house or something. We were beginning to work with rural development, and so we will build the house. We're the contractor. We are recognized by the state of Minnesota as a licensed contractor. So they'll finance through rural development. We build it because we can build it cheaper than anyone else can, because we have volunteer labor and don't pay that labor. So it's an affordability gap.
So you're not giving anybody houses?
Oh no, there's a myth that, people will say, oh yeah, they got a Habitat house, thinking that they were given that house. Families put 300 hours of sweat equity building on the house, working in our restore, doing other things, doing financial literacy, doing home stretch, all kinds of things, 300 hours per adult. And then they have to pay a mortgage like anyone else who buys a house.
Mm-hmm. 300 hours. And you said per adult.
Per adult.
Kids aren't expected to participate.
Correct.
And what kinds of things can they do for that 300 hours?
Well, we love that it would be construction, because then they would know what's in the walls and how to maintain it. But they're required to do home stretch, which almost any lender will require. It teaches you about home ownership. What does interest rate mean? Of course, for us that doesn't mean anything because our interest rate is zero. But how to get financing, what to look for when you're looking for a loan, all of those things. What does home ownership mean? They do a financial literacy piece. Most of them, by the time they get to us, and not always, sometimes they come with pretty bad credit, but it teaches them beyond how do I fix my credit report to how do I now look at saving money for the future and what do I need to be aware of. So it kind of gets their mind beyond how to live day to day and paycheck to paycheck.
0% interest?
Zero interest.
And what about terms?
Depending on how high the mortgage amount is and what their income is, we can go 25 to, our biggest loan we wrote was 40 years.
Wow.
Yeah, we can go to 45. I don't know that I'd want to pay for a house for 45 years, but if we need to do that to keep it at 30% of their income, that's what we do.
Yeah, that's the goal. It has to fit within 30%.
Right, so affordability for home ownership is 30% of income. That includes the principal payment, income, we don't have interest.
Right.
They're escrows for insurance and taxes.
Sure.
And a utility allowance, so 30%. That's what housing is for us.
And what about a down payment?
Well, that's the beauty of Habitat. Our down payment is only the deed taxes and the recording fees. Our attorney does the closing pro bono, so there's about $2,000 they can walk into a house. Yeah.
You're not going to find a deal like that very many places.
Probably not.
Or maybe nowhere else.
Nowhere.
How does one start the qualification process?
Sure. It's scary thinking about buying a house. You think you're into a long-term commitment, and you are, and you should be. But first step, maybe check our website. We have a habitatbemidji.org. We have a home buyer tab. Click onto there. There's lots of information there. Little short orientation video that we've put on there. The application is online. You can look at that. It's a big daunting thing. It's not easy to fill out. So if you're having trouble with it or just simply don't understand what you need to do, give us a call or stop into the office. We're over in the industrial park in the Restore building. 1357 Exchange Avenue. Google finally pinned us in the right spot today. It's
Thank
amazing
goodness.
after
Yeah.
we've been there for, I don't even know how many years, a lot. About 16 years we've been there. So, but yeah, it's just stop in and talk to us. It's sometimes the easiest thing to do is just stop in.
And these purchases of these homes are for homes that are going to be owner occupied. You don't buy one of these and then rent it out.
Correct. Yep. There are clauses in the documents that say, in the mortgage and the notes that say it has to be owner occupied. You can't rent to anybody. If someone moves in with you, your principal payment's going to go up because your payment is based on your income. And we do adjustable mortgages every year. If your income goes up, your payment's going to go up, so you're likely going to pay off, earlier than the term of your mortgage.
Sure. Can the homes be resold?
They can be. We have a right of repurchase. If you want to sell your house, you first have to offer it back to us. And if we don't want to take it back or buy it back, then you can sell it on the open market, and there's a shared equity clause, which means whatever the appreciation is over the time that you've been in your home, you'll share part of that with us.
Now the good stuff, because these homes, well, there's already been plenty of good stuff. I mean, with the 0% interest and the little or no, essentially no down payment,
Right.
How much does a home that ordinarily, if you were a home, 3-bedroom home that's brand new after all, is going to maybe cost on the average around this region of Minnesota, $250,000 maybe. What's that home going to cost through Habitat for Humanity?
Sure. So our homes are appraised. We sell at the appraised value. It'll probably appraise at like $230,000 if you qualify for the down payment assistance, which most of the home buyers that we have qualify. It's a $20,000 or $30,000 spend down, so your original mortgage would be like $220,000. Yeah, sometimes less. The market with materials, we're just guessing at our prices right now and our price points. The last few houses that we've had, that we've built, the last 3 have appraised right around $140,000. Mortgages are like $102,000.
And then if you add in, along with that savings, then you add in 0% interest.
Right.
That home is costing you a lot less.
Right. If you paid the bank back, and I'm using round numbers because it's easy for me because I'm not a numbers person. If you buy a house from a bank at $100,000, you can expect to pay probably $280,000 by the time you're done paying interest. Habitat, you're going to pay back $100,000. That's it. You pay us exactly what you borrowed from us. The equity building for Habitat is that when you make your first payment, you're building equity right away. If you're with a bank, you don't build equity for a long time. You're paying mostly interest on your every monthly payment you make. You're paying interest. So if you want to sell in 10 years, you probably don't have a lot of equity in that house. If you're paying at Habitat for 10 years, you're going to have a lot of equity in that house.
So Habitat builds a good, very efficient homes, right? Geri, they're maybe not necessarily extravagant, but it's a brand new house, and it's definitely going to be very energy efficient.
Right. We say simple, decent, affordable. Simple, decent doesn't mean built with cheap material. We use quality material. We don't use marble countertops because, you might want that, but you really don't need it right now. You need a decent place to live. But they are very nice homes, highly energy efficient. Heating and electric bills are low. $60 heating bill all winter long when it's 60 below. $30 electric bills. It's crazy how low and how efficient they are.
Mm-hmm. Can people have a selection of location?
We try to give families an option. Sometimes there are certain lots that we have purchased that they have stipulations that we need to build on them within a certain number of years. Or if we're building 2 or 3 houses, we like to keep them close together just for mechanics of things. So we try to accommodate, but sometimes we say this is, these are the 2 options you have. Try to look at where maybe people are working. Do they have family in a certain area? We try to accommodate if we can.
Mm-hmm. And Habitat is operating with access to city services in Bemidji and elsewhere in this region?
Right, so our geographical service area where we can build is all of Clearwater and Beltrami County. So any cities that have municipality is where we can build, and we've built in Black Duck and Bagley.
Where did the lots come from?
All over. We go to the county tax auction, and we've picked up quite a few that way. We have developers who have bought land and said, hey, we've decided we're not going to build there, and so we just picked up 6 lots last year over in Nymore. People who have adjoining lots who go, I don't want to pay property tax on that anymore. I don't want to mow it or upkeep it anymore. We've bought lots like that. Houses that are need to come down, people will, donate. We've actually had houses and lots donated to us. So yeah, all kinds of ways, however we can get our hands on them.
As long as it has access to city services.
Right.
And I would assume as long as it's buildable without having to go for variances.
Right. We have had some lots that we've had to do variances on. Not a lot, but we have, and the city has been accommodating because, everyone knows we need affordable housing and we need housing, period, in this area. So, 50 by 150 is a basic lot in the city of Bemidji, so about 6,000 square feet. We do have some larger lots that we've picked up for families who need a bigger house. Sometimes you got 4 or 5 kids, you need more than 6,000 square feet to live on. So.
Sure. And for those that are watching our show that are in the Brainerd area, there is a program operating in Brainerd as well, but that's separate from the program you operate here, Geri.
Right. Really similar, Lakes area and Brainerd. They're building in, they actually have 5 counties they build in. So they have a huge service area. And yeah, they're going gangbusters too. In fact, they're building in Cass Lake. They have Cass County, so they're building in Cass Lake. So nearby, and they
nearby.
Hubbard County as well. So, we all operate the same but differently, just different areas.
So with all these great aspects of this program, I would assume you have applicants that are just coming into your office every day.
That would be beautiful. Our applications have picked up, but over COVID and they just dropped off hard. And even last year, we were a little surprised that they weren't picking up. And so we've done a lot of marketing and a lot of talking and networking to try and get apps picked up. We have just selected 1 family, and we have 2 more that are moving to called home visits. So once they get qualified with numbers and things like that, then we look for the need thing. So ability to pay, need, and a willingness to partner are our 3 criteria. And so do you really need to be, buying a Habitat house? And so we look at that. So they'll move to a home visit, and if they meet that qualification, then they'll go to board for approval. So we're hoping to have 3 or 4 families ready to go next year.
Because you want to save these homes, and the great bargain that Habitat is for people that really need it.
Right.
Because whether they apply or not, it would seem there'd be a lot of people that would need a Habitat home at any given time.
Yeah. Most of the time when they come to us, it's first-generation home buyers. They really don't understand what home ownership is. And we still have families, once they get into their house, that call and say, hey, this broke in my house. And I'm like, yeah, not your landlord. You are the owner of this property. You need to figure out how to fix that. I mean, we guide them and help them, offer, here's the plumber who came in and did your work, call him, it's probably under warranty, those kinds of things if it's still that early. So, we guide them, but it's hard for people who have never had, people before them that have owned homes. They think they're renters, and they think someone needs to fix that for them, and that's truly not the case. So.
Yeah, it's different than renting.
Right, big time, yeah. It's a shock.
And the work that people do, the 300 hours for each adult, what kind of work is that? What sort of duties do they get?
Sure, so up to 125 hours, we don't even start talking about what a house or a lot would look like. So they're working on the financial literacy, the home stretch. They're working with a mentor. They get a binder, about 2 inches thick of everything you need to know about building a house and owning a home, and what happens if I get into trouble later, and you're going to foreclose on me, all kinds of things in there. So we try to get them set up for success. They start working in our restore. They get to know the Habitat family and the Habitat volunteers, because a lot of our volunteers in the restore are the volunteers that are working on houses. So they get to meet the people that are actually building their house. Work in our restore, we have mailings, we get really creative sometimes about how to get families up to that 125.
But with the actual construction work, they are not expected to have a great deal of technical knowledge necessarily?
Don't need to know a thing. The volunteers on site will guide you, and we've had people that have disabilities that, we figure out how to get them on site, even just to interact with the volunteers and see how the house is being built. Like I said, we get creative. We do require 125 hours of construction on your own or another Habitat house. So if you're selected and we're still building a house, we encourage you to get over there and see how this is going to look when you get to that point. So.
Right. Disabilities, I hadn't thought of that one. I would assume those homes could maybe be tailored for the person's disability?
Oh, for sure. We build accessible houses if we need to, yeah. Our houses are mostly slab on grade, so they are age in place, you know. Most of them have a zero entry entrance, so if you're wheelchair bound, you can get in there. You know, 36-inch doors, bathrooms big enough to turn a wheelchair, those kinds of things. We've done, a couple of years ago, we had a family with a child in a wheelchair. And so the bathroom has a walk-in shower so that, you know, they don't have to get her in and out of a bathtub, so.
So Habitat builds homes, it finances homes, and it also has various ways of funding itself. How is it supported?
So our biggest thing is the mortgage payments coming back in. Those are recycled back into building the next house. So oftentimes families, when they are, you know, we've had a few who got behind on payments and didn't think it was a really big deal. And so we have the conversation that, you know, if you're not making payments, the next guy that's getting a house isn't getting a house because you haven't made your payments. That's where our money comes to build those houses. We also have the Restore, which provides operating costs, pays all the salaries, the heat, the lights, the insurance, all of that, and puts some money into a house every year. That's the concept of the Restore. Items come in donated, we sell them at, you know, half of what they would market for, and puts money in the bank for us to operate and build houses. We have one big fundraiser a year, and that's we used to call it our gala. We've just renamed it our roof raiser. So we'll be doing a roof raiser in April, and so that we raise about $30,000 to $40,000 a year to, again, put into houses. So.
The Restore donations, are those entirely sold? Do those materials ever go into constructing a Habitat house?
We don't. It's difficult unless somebody is donating a whole set of windows brand new that are, you know, at the level that we install. It's really difficult to use used material. You know,
Sure.
If someone brings in a really nice exterior door, if it's not going to match the other door, we're not going to use it. So it's difficult.
It's just that store is more oriented to people that are doing small projects on their own home, right?
A lot of remodelers
Fix up
in,
of this.
a lot of remodelers, a lot of landlords in working, you know, need a door, you know, and come in and buy a door, interior doors, closet doors, all of those things.
And again, you at the Restore, you sell not only building materials, but appliances and furniture?
Appliances, furniture, flooring. We've got a new partnership with Amazon Paint, so all the paint in our store is now new. It's recycled paint, so if you have paint that you want to donate to us, it's going to go to Amazon and they're going to recycle it into new paint. It's a really cool deal.
And will it be reused locally, or do they source that out all across the country?
I think all over the country, but they are based down in I think it's Shakopee. So yep, they come up and we have our used paint. It's in a bin and they pick it up, and if we need paint, we order it in, and I think it's $20 a gallon. Nice paint. We use it in our Habitat houses.
Good to know.
Yeah.
I mean, a lot of us, at least at our house, we have probably 10 gallons, but 10 cans of paint that sometimes have a fair amount of paint still in them.
Right. Yep.
And that can be reused.
Yeah.
The Restore has certain hours of the day when it's open and certain times that it accepts donations, right, Geri?
Right. Yep. So we're open Wednesday, Thursday, Friday from 10 to 5 and Saturday 9 to 1. Accept donations up to a half hour before closing, and then Tuesdays is for donation and pickup only. So sometimes someone will buy something, can't pick it up that day, and if they want to pick it up during the week, Tuesday's the best day for them to do that.
All right. And people should donate at the appointed time and not just drop off donations at the Restore.
So I drove into the driveway this morning at work, and there was a sofa sitting out back, and I thought, that's weird that that's sitting out there, and I went and asked staff, why is that sofa back there? Oh, somebody dropped it off over Thanksgiving break, and you know, it got wet, and now we don't know what to do with it. So somebody who thought it was a great donation, it now gets to go over to the landfill.
Nuts.
Yeah.
And that'll be an expense, I would assume.
It
for
will.
the
We have to
program.
pay for that.
So, I mean, that sofa probably would have been a welcome donation, but again, you
Right.
need people there that
Somebody
can
needs to get it inside.
take a look at it and get it in.
Yeah, it's not a big problem for us. Once in a while, we'll get those drop-offs. You know, you'll drive up and there'll be a sink sitting outside or something. And yes, we do need the items, but, you know, please just don't drop it there. Actually illegal to do that, so.
How many homes have been built by Habitat locally in all these years?
Sure, I think we've built 52 new, and we've recycled and purchased them back, so we'll be writing our 61st mortgage on this house that we're just finishing up.
Boy, that's a lot. Have you had many homes where there's been a failure of the mortgage? For instance, somebody just can't make the payments or don't make the payments?
Yeah, we've had one foreclosure
One.
of the 61.
That's
It was
really
not-
impressive.
It wasn't very fun. I don't want to do it again.
I'm sure. It wouldn't be impressive, but a skeptic might say, well, it just doesn't sound like a program that's going to work that well to me.
Right.
I think that there will be more people that won't pay.
Yeah, we have families who get into trouble, and because we are the lender, we work with them. You know, we've done, okay, we understand that the transmission just went out of your car, and now you have to pay $5,000, so give us a plan. So they'll write up a plan for how can I skip 2 payments, and then tack them to the back of the mortgage. Lots of creative ways that we've kept families in. So if you're getting foreclosed on, you really don't want to be in a Habitat house.
For people that are thinking that this might be a program that could work for me, we really need a house, how do they start the whole process, Geri?
Sure. Again, just call the office, come over, look at the application. We'll help you fill it out if you need help filling it out. A lot of people say, yeah, my credit's not very good, so I'm just not even going to try. We're looking at applications with credit scores of 500. They're not great credit scores, but we look at a past history of 2 or 3 years where they've cleaned a bunch of stuff up and they're showing that all of their current debt right now is current. They're paying and they've figured out how to pay their bills. So don't look at the credit score, look at how you're spending your money and how you're managing it, and that's what we basically do.
Do they have to demonstrate that they have a good job, that they have real steady employment?
Steady employment is important. We have several of our homeowners now are getting Social Security, so if you're on Social Security, you probably will qualify. You do have to show a steady employment. It doesn't mean that you can't have changed jobs, but you should be going up, not down. You should be always getting a better job. We do look at if you're shifting jobs every 3 months, why are you doing that? You know, you're a credit risk if you don't have strong employment.
Mm-hmm. You mentioned Social Security, and that makes me think, gee, maybe I'm just assuming this is a program for young people. Not that everybody on Social Security is older, but at the same time, have you had people get into homes, brand new Habitat homes that are over, say, 60 years old?
Yeah, recently, several.
Really?
Yeah, we're an equal housing lender. Age doesn't factor. You just have to have, you know, show us that you've got the means to pay a mortgage off.
And that 300 hours of sweat equity doesn't necessarily have to be heavy physical labor.
Right, right. Yeah, again, just be there and, you know, lend a hand. Figure
Right.
out what's in your house. You maintain it.
Yeah. I tend to think of, when we've talked about Habitat for a long time, you and I've talked with people after those shows and they say, yeah, you know, I've never even picked up a hammer. You know, I wouldn't know the first thing to do there. I just feel kind of intimidated.
Mm-hmm.
But I guess your people working the program have got to be used to having people come in that maybe don't have a lot of experience.
Right, right. We have volunteers. We have basically one site supervisor, and the rest of the people there are volunteers. They come there to work and build a house for someone because they know there's no other way they're going to get one. So, you know, they'll teach you how to do that. If you're not interested in construction at all, there are other things to do there. You can carry a board over, you can stack lumber, you can do, you know, clean up. There's lots of stuff to do on site.
And the rest of the people working, these experienced workers that are actually doing most of the building, are they volunteers?
Most of the framing and stuff is volunteers. Our volunteers, we have a crew of about 5-6 guys who have been with us for a few years now. They lay the flooring, they install the cabinets, countertop, you know, HVAC, plumbing, electrical, that's all subbed out to the professionals. We don't want to be doing that stuff, but For the most part, our volunteers are doing everything.
Wow.
Yeah.
Are you in need of more qualified volunteers?
Always. You know, the average age of our volunteer on site is 65. You know, and we have some that are way older than 65, so we're always looking for younger people.
We are getting close to the end of our show for today, Geri. How many homes do you plan to build next summer?
Well, we have one right now in hand that we're going to rehab if we can get a family that's interested in it and wants to buy it. And we're hoping to maybe do 2 more. So 2 or 3 houses next summer is kind of going to be our goal.
Do you have applicants lined up for those?
We do.
Okay.
Yeah.
And the summer after, though, there will be more homes constructed,
There
right?
is, and we need applicants.
So it's never too early.
It's never too early. You know, building a home is a process. You know, we have people who call and say, you know, I'm homeless and I'm desperate, and we're like, we're not the program. We can't.
Because it's not so immediate.
Yeah, it's an 18-month to 2-year process, and people get frustrated with that. But anyone who knows, if you're building a house, you're not going to do that. You're not going to get through that process quickly, even if you're going through a bank or doing something else. So the home was built to suit your family, and it takes a while. We've had families get in as quick as a year.
Right.
Yeah.
But it's never too early to start the process. It's a good time to learn more about it
Right.
and submit the application.
Right.
Can people call and talk with someone in your office just to get more information?
Yep, there's 3 of us. I got a couple part-time in the front office and myself. Just give us a call, ask questions if you're curious. Again, orientation video is on our website, habitatbemidji.org. Click the home buyer tab. There's a video there. The application's online. Take a peek at those things. Give us a call. Come in. We'll sit down with you and talk you through the process.
Geri Hickerson, the Director of Habitat for Humanity locally, thank you for joining us for our Lakeland Currents show today.
You're welcome.
That's our edition of Lakeland Currents. I'm your host, Todd Haugen. Thanks for watching.